Hello, welcome to Mark Langley's Horsemanship Podcast, a podcast helping people to understand their horses better, to provide solutions in a calm, connected way. I'm Jenny Langley, and with me is Mark Langley. Mark, for this session with you, answering some questions, we've got random questions for you. They sort of don't really string together, but I think they'll be quite interesting for everyone listening. We've got someone who's going to quiz you about why your approach to floating is like it is. I've got someone with a horse who has had a really bad experience with a clipper, and now she's really struggling to do anything with that horse when they have something in their hand. And then I've got a technical question about getting a horse to slow down and responding to the bit with slowness rather than changing how it's holding its head position, which is what's currently happening. So a whole range of questions, and we will start with the floating question. This comes from Jess. She recently did a clinic with you here in Australia. She was practicing everything that she's been learning in the videos. And at the clinic on the last day, loading her horse was really important because he's one of those horses where you can load okay from home, but he's difficult loading at the end of an outing. Now, you showed her how you do the loading, which was very different to what she had been shown before. But she says it certainly worked. Now, in that, you demonstrated a lot of banging on the float. You rocked the float. You were jumping up and down. As you said, this is what the horse needs to get used to, as this is similar to what they will experience in the float. So a lot of noise, a lot of just, banging and loud, sudden kind of movements. She understands that this is what prepares a horse for a trip if they're new to floating. But her horse has had many trips and he's floated well for the first 2 years. It's only really a bad experience of a nasty pothole jerking the float badly. And since then, he doesn't seem to like what he experiences on the road. So what Jess would like to know is why then would she continue with that kind of preparation that you were showing her when he's already floated many times? She understands it would be a great technique if you're preparing a young horse or an inexperienced floater, but why do it with her particular one?
Well, because the biggest thing is because a big pothole scared the horse. So there's a big jerk and movement in the float that scared him, and now he doesn't trust it because he's panicked in the float. And obviously before that big jerk and pothole, maybe he wasn't prepared. Maybe he was always a bit frozen in the float, and that was the sort of the last nail in the coffin that really, did the damage. He might have been a bit frozen traveling, and then that big pothole really made him blow up and get a big fright. So then once they've had a big fright and they haven't processed it very well, then obviously their floating is, I guess, corrupted by that. So why do I do it with an older horse that's floated so many times versus just doing it to prepare young horses is because they need to go through the process of moving softly on and off the float while the float's bouncing and noisy. Not just to load them and say this is a scary space. So I think what I would change is the way you're thinking about it. So with a young horse, you're saying, this float's banging, it moves, it makes noises. Are you okay with that? This horse already knows that it's going to move because it knows what the float does. It's had a fright in the float. So with this horse, your mindset is, can I get this horse to move very, very softly and make the float quite feel unsafe? And can I stay in there? So what I would probably do is somehow set it up so someone else is outside the float, moving the float, making it kind of unstable and noisy, and you're inside the float watching the horse leading it, seeing if it's freezing, panicking, and seeing if with that lead rope you can get it to let go and start to soften and move softly inside the float whilst that's happening. So you're basically trying to say, you've got to learn to be able to move softly whilst this is happening and don't freeze up and don't get anxious. So the horse starts to trust its own self and its ability to relax and be able to not not be frozen and go into a very negative mindset while it's in that experience. So it's just to show them that, you know, you can soften up when that's happening, not just to say this is what's going to happen. It's to say, it's to continue until they soft in there when it's happening. Much like any horse that's had a bad experience, you're sort of showing them an alternative and trying to put them in the green zone so they're balancing well and got good dexterity and good proprioception in there. So it's just one of those tough ones that you've got to get in and do it to see if you can make a shift in your horse to get them a lot looser under the pressure. So it's about getting them loose and soft under pressure, not just saying this is what you're going to experience.
Going on to riding, this question is from Jane, and she's from America. She has an 8-year-old Arab gelding who she wants to use for endurance, and she said he's got a great mind, he learns fast, and he's enjoying trail. Bit of a history to him though. He was started at 5 years old and then went to Western Pleasure School. Spent 5 months with an endurance trainer who rode him in a really strong bit and a forked martingale. Now, Jane doesn't use a martingale and she's put him in a snaffle bit. On trail, he can maintain a lovely, consistent trot on a loose rein for a few miles, and then when he gets tired or distracted, he becomes unbalanced and rushy. Now, this is the problem. Because he's out on trail, she can't put him in a circle to slow his pace, so she puts pressure on the bit. And what happens is he typically sort of seems to drop out of frame. He drops his head down. It's almost seeking relief from the bit, changing position rather than slowing. Jane would like to know, have you got any suggestions on how she can educate him so that slowing down is a response that she's seeking, not a change in that head position?
Okay, so he, like every horse, doesn't matter if it's an endurance horse, a pack horse, or a trail horse, dressage, any horse, endurance, dressage, anything. Every single horse, I think, needs to know how to follow the feel and soften to the reins, like back up softly, back up softly, back up softly, 50,000 times until it's a soft back up. You know, steer softly, use your hindquarter more in your tight turns, stuff like that. So when I used to break in endurance horses, I never treated them any different. I just sort of used to train them to back up softly, turn softly, and be like any other horse that had really good foundation. Because it's about a horse transitioning from forwards, preparing itself for the back up and backing up and softening its head, but not only softening its head, softening its whole body to back up loosely. So we're trying to get the horses to back up really soft and loose through their body. And you maybe have to repeat that a lot of times before it works really well. Sometimes when we spend too much time out on trail traveling, we're not doing enough back up. So, you know, you might want to start to put in, you know, once you've got a good in an area where you're working, an arena or whatever, when you ride out, spend a lot more time walking your horse and going, I'm going to go this way, back up, let's go that way, let's back up, go that way, until the reins are connecting to the whole horse and it's preparing to back up. And then instead of it changing its head position and keeping on pushing with its body, it'll start to prepare to back up and it'll soften and slow down properly. So, and their thoughts will come back. And also what you've got to, if you're riding and you're doing a lot of fitness for endurance, traveling along the trails can sometimes teach the horses to get long thoughts, and they start to travel away with their thoughts, and they want to keep going forward with their thoughts. So they just change their head position, but their thoughts are still going forward. So by doing a lot of good quality soft backups, the horse's thoughts, and you can watch their ears, the ears come back and get soft and think back and come back, and then you stop them and say, thanks for bringing your thoughts back, until you just have to lift the reins. So when you're trotting along, you get to a stage that you just lift the reins, the horse will slow a little, the thoughts will come back and the ears will start to float again, because you've stuck to the question until the horse has answered it, and they realise that because you're committing to the reins, they have to commit to the reins, and then eventually they commit straight away. But it's a process. It's a process of training, and you know, I don't know how many, you know, times you're going to have to repeat something to get it quality, and the horse owns it and feels good about it, so you don't feel like you're training it all the time. And I think it's just the commitment we have to, you know, good foundation and how many times we do it so the horse remembers it. But yeah, if you don't have room to turn, then yeah, it doesn't matter what you're doing in the reins. The horse has got to listen to them. Doesn't matter what rein position. And we just got to do enough of that foundation. And when I was, around the endurance horses a bit more, the one thing I did notice, some horses were doing too much fitness, not enough mind fitness, body fitness, not mind fitness. But the people who did a lot more mind fitness with their horses had a lot more of an enjoyable ride, especially when they got to sort of competition where there's a lot of horses and a lot going on. So, but they had to put those hours not into the brain, not necessarily the body.
Okay, and then we'll move on to the last question. This is about a warm blood cross thoroughbred mare who's 10 years old, who is having a lot of problems since someone came to clip her about 6 months ago. She had been clipped every summer prior to that without issues, but this particularly bad clipping experience basically terrified her. And Alison, her owner, has been unable to give her medication. So the vet had to twitch her for her vaccinations in January, and she's been unable to trim her mane with any scissors or deworm her without her panicking and bracing and worse. She throws her head up, she backs away, she bolts forward, she's breaking the quick releases and the cross ties, and she runs away. She's run over the top of her. She's tried not tying her up. She's tried in a different location. She's tried introducing the syringe slowly with apple sauce, with as little pressure as possible, but she's not winning. Alison says she's literally terrified of anyone who's doing anything around her head. It seems that may hurt her. She's fine with Alison coming to have her mane brushed. She's fine with touching her head and her face and massaging her neck. But as soon as she's approached with anything other than a brush or a bridle in hand, she loses her mind. Alison's scared of her trampling or kicking her out of fear. She's fine with picking up her feet, and she's happily walks on and off the float. She follows her like a puppy. She meets her at the gate. She positions herself at the mounting block. And generally, Alison feels she tries very hard to work with her in everything except this one particular issue. She's working through all of your programs online from the beginning, but she does need help with the deworming because that's something that she has to address now. Have you got any advice, please?
Leading, by the sounds of it, you can't teach a horse to be drenched or handle clippers if it doesn't know how to lead well. There's approach and retreat and building
deworming. Explain that one.
Well, because the horse got its first panic when it was held by the head, whether it being cross ties when the clipping was done. So what happened is the horse felt, there's a coyote just walking across the paddock. I've never seen a coyote in the real. It's just right here.
Wow, how big is it? Like a fox?
No, like a big fox. Yeah, it's coming over to say hello. I should see if I can just quickly see in the camera. It
might be because you're in a camping area. Maybe it's used to getting fed.
Can you see it? I can't see if I'm in the right spot. Ready? Where is it? There. There it is.
Oh, gosh. That's a coyote. There you go. Sorry, excuse our excitement, everybody. That's very... Wow.
A lot of people say, just another coyote, but we don't get to see coyotes. Yeah,
gosh,
anyway.
No.
So,
there it is. I can watch it.
Anyway. Yeah, it's probably coming. I might see if I can... No, I shouldn't feed coyotes. That's probably bad. Tourists,
no, don't feed them. No.
No. So anyway, so the first bad experience with the clippers is set up a really the reason I don't drive horses around with the flag is because the more a horse moves away from something and thinks it's escaping from something, the more that thing becomes a problem. Okay, so what happened somewhere in that bad clipping experience is people were trying to hold the horse's head. The horse was frightened. It didn't trust it. So it panicked and pulled away. And as soon as that horse pulled away and panicked, it said the clippers are anything that people have in their hand is dangerous. I've just run away from it, and they tried to trap me with my head, and now I'm frightened of that too. So if you're going to hold me and you're going to hold something in your hand, then I'm just as frightened of being held as the thing in your hand. So an example is when I used to do horsemanship clinics for people who had done a lot of generic horsemanship, where they'd point and send their horse and point and send their horse with their sticks or their flags. I did an experiment with those horses, and I was trying to get people to believe in leading because they thought their horses led well. And I was also trying to get people to understand that just because they were pointing their horse softly, it doesn't mean that that horse didn't remember the original driving pressure that made it worried enough to get out on that circle. So what I used to do is I used to pick up like the stick that they used to guide their horse with. I'd do the same body language that they did to send their horse out on the circle, and just right at the point the horse thought it was going to escape out on that circle, I pulled on its head and pulled it back towards me and said, oh, by the way, it's a trap, don't leave. And I saw so many horses just pull back and run backwards. And these owners are like, what? I said, they'd say, why did you do that? And I said, well, I just gave you an example of when the horse couldn't escape that stick in your hand, because usually it always had a free head. There was nothing pulling his head. It'd just go out in a circle and it could always escape from it. But when I said pulled on that lead rope at the same time, it was just as, it was frightened of the stick in my hand, but then because it never learnt to soften in the lead rope, it got terrified and ran backwards, frightened of the pressure on its head. So when a horse that doesn't know how to lead properly gets introduced to something scary and it has a bad experience and it fights the pressure in its head and gets away from that thing, the two things that the horse is scared of is the trap on its head and the thing that we had in our hand. So we have to fix both. You can't just sort of go, oh, you've got to get used to a drench, or you've got to get used to the clippers. You've got to trust that leading pressure on your head that we're going to guide you with first, and then we can get you used to the clippers or the drench. So most horses that have trouble with drench and clippers, and there was a horse at the clinic at Mudgee a while ago that I spent most of the time teaching the horse to lead softly and then a little bit of time getting it to take a drench. The drenching was the easy part. The trusting pressure was the harder part that needed work on. So what we did with that horse, and this is basically the answer to the question, was we got the horse lowering its head, leading forward, leading around, trusting pressure, softening the pressure. It's not a trap anymore. No one's going to grab you on your head and trap you because you're going to follow it. And then because the horse is following a feel and working really nicely, then we can hold a drench or something in our hand, and then we can lead the horse towards it. And instead of us coming towards it, like we're going to come towards you with the scary thing and hold you, the horse was going towards the thing that it was scared of, because we had a tool to get the horse to lead forward. So the lead rope is a pathway, not a trap. So then we could slowly get the horse to lead up softly and then just get really close to the drench. And then we take the drench away and lead it up to the drench, take the drench away, lead it up to the drench, take the drench away. Not once did the drench approach the horse only approached the drench, until we could just get it up and just gently sniff the drench and take it away, or sniff the clippers. Same with the hose, same with clippers. Like you lead them up, get them close, then you take the clipper away a bit, and then you lead them up so they've come close to it, and then you take it away instead of you going close to them with it and they want to pull away from it. So it empowers them to sort of, come towards the object instead of the object go towards them. So it's almost like approach and retreat, except the horse approaches. The other approach and retreat is you approach. When the horse gets a hard eye, you stop a little, and then you might wait till it softens, and you take it away. And that can work too. But the one where you fix the leading, you're killing two birds with one stone, and you're also getting the horse a lot looser, taking any freeze out of it. And not only do you fix the problem of not being able to be clipped or drenched, the horse gets really good at leading through a slightly bad experience. So they'll lead better on a trailer, because the clippers and a drench is just a horse float, and so when you say, why is leading the key to getting a horse to drench better? Well, a horse float is the same thing. It's a big scary thing that the horse doesn't want to go in, and we have to lead them to get them to go into it. We can't just put the horse float on top of the horse. So going to a horse with a hose or clippers is like putting a horse float on top of a horse. It doesn't make sense. But so leading the horse up to these objects and getting them to sniff them and process them and be soft with them is the same as, I don't see that the clipper. That's, to me, is that a clippers in your hand? Is that a horse float? Doesn't really matter. It's the same thing.
Wow. Okay. Interesting perspective. So there's confidence that this horse can get over this, through understanding the lead rope a lot more and feeling confident with what's happening.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I would not put the clippers in my hand or the drench in my hand until that lead rope is amazingly soft in my hand, and then I'd start introducing the other things. Otherwise, it's going to make it a lot harder, and you just got to work on approach and retreat. But the horse has got too much fear, and I think, as I say, if the horse is approaching the object and move, and it can back away and come towards the object, back away and come. So it's not just approach and treat. You actually can back the horse away from it and bring it towards it again. It's just so much better, and they get when they become more fixed, they're a lot softer in all ways.
Great. Well, I hope that's a bit of a game plan for you, Alison. Let us know how you go. Happy to continue helping you, and you can always shoot through a video if you want to, so Mark can see what's happening and give you some tips, because it sounds like it's quite there's a lot to getting this really, really soft leading going on. So he might be able to offer you some more clarity in that area if you need it. Thank you so much for all the questions that have come through today, and thank you, Mark, for answering them. Enjoy your time in California, and I hope that coyote doesn't cause any problems but entertains you a little bit while you're there. It's lovely for you to be able to see him or her.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of little squirrels, grey squirrels, and I know when we went to England, they weren't so happy with all the grey squirrels, because apparently there used to be a lot of red squirrels, but not anymore because of the grey squirrels. But it's still cool to see squirrels and different animals that I don't get to see. So yeah.
Oh, wonderful. Great. Yeah, it'd be nice to see it. Cool. Well, enjoy your time, and thank you so much, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Jenny.
If you'd like to help apply any of these ideas to your own horse, you can join Mark Langley online. The membership gives you access to Mark's full training library, detailed step-by-step exercises and regular Q&A support to help you better understand your horse's behaviour, training and emotional responses. It's designed to give people more practical, thoughtful solutions that help horses learn with confidence, softness and understanding. To find out more, head to marklangley.com.au and click join.